Today, we really have to thank so many people. We have to thank CVS for saving the smokers of America. We have to thank Alderman Ed Burke for saving the ponies here in Chicago. And I think we're also going to have to thank Susana Mendoza, our Chicago City Clerk, for saving the puppies. Now, who doesn't want to save the puppies, right, Amy?
Yes, John, but
Everybody,
I detect the sarcasm in your voice right now.
Well, look, we all hate puppy mills.
Yeah, we do.
But I'm trying to figure out how do you differentiate, and I'm sure she can explain, how do you differentiate between bad puppy mills and good, legitimate dog breeders? Let's start there as we welcome back to the program Susana Mendoza, our Chicago City Clerk, who is behind an initiative now to ban puppy mill pet sales. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for joining us. So is there a need for this legislation in Chicago?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's already about 45 other cities that do this across the country, and Chicago can still pose itself as a leader in terms of a large-scale city, but, you know, we're a little bit behind the curve.
Well, you said yesterday that puppy mills, what it will mean for taxpayers. Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, people may not, let's say, have a pet in their actual house, but, you know, I'd argue that everybody in the city of Chicago, for the most part, has a dog. I mean, we have about 20,000 dogs that go through the animal care and control in the city of Chicago alone. Mm-hmm. And basically, those dogs are being cared for, they're being fed, they're being given medical attention, all on the taxpayer dime. And worst of all, they're being euthanized on the taxpayer's dime. So they may not live under your roof, but we're paying for them nonetheless. And frankly, we want to get these animals into homes where they're loved and cared for by animal lovers.
And we all do. And I'm a dog owner and I'm an animal lover. That being said, how is this the purveyance of the city clerk's office?
Well, actually, that's a very good question. My office is actually responsible for licensing dogs. Mm-hmm. So there's an absolute nexus to why this is important. But, you know, beyond that, this was an issue that I cared about deeply in the legislature. So I actually was on the Puppy Mill Task Force for Illinois. I ran legislation and passed it that would provide better disclosure to consumers as to where their dogs are coming from. And now that I'm in the city clerk's office and see firsthand how many dogs we have that currently are unlicensed, and we just cannot seem to put our hands around this problem, there's an absolute nexus as to what my office does and why this is important to do for the city.
But why not go directly to the problem, directly to the source, and try and get some legislation proposed to ban puppy mills?
Oh, well, the state's has been trying to do that for years. But, Amy, first of all, is to understand the issue of puppy mills. They're not, for example, per se in the city of Chicago. Puppy mills are across the country. Illinois gets a lot of their puppies that go to the pet stores from Missouri, from Indiana. You can even buy them on the web. There's limited controls as to what we have oversight over. We don't oversee the internet. There's only so much you can do to try to directly impact what other states are doing. And so what we can do is try to shut off the pipeline of dogs that we know for a fact are coming from puppy mills.
Well, let's just dial down on that. As opposed to legitimate breeders, okay? And,
yeah, great question.
You know, AKA breeders or what have you. I mean,
sure.
How are you going to say, well, this is a puppy mill puppy, while this puppy is from a legitimate for-profit breeder?
Sure. Well, that's a great question because there is a huge distinction between your legitimate breeder who does not treat the mother like a commodity and a large-scale mass producer of these dogs. So legitimate breeders, and I have purchased a dog from a legitimate breeder. A legitimate breeder is going to tell you the exact lineage of the dog, you know, of the parents, how it was bred, any illnesses that run in the family. They don't inbreed those dogs, right? I mean, they're very, very careful as to provide you the best quality dog available, and they're happy to give you all of the information pertaining to that dog and its lineage. Also, they're not in the business of mass producing these puppies, so they're not inbreeding them. They're not keeping a mother in a tiny cage where she can't exercise at all, where she's in her own excrement, where basically they'll breed her and breed her and breed her until she dies just to get the maximum amount of puppies. And there is no responsible breeder that would actually sell their dogs to a puppy store because they're not in the business. They hate how puppy mills run their operations. So this would not discourage anybody from going to an individual breeder and, you know, contracting with them to buy your puppy. Lots of people do that, and that's a really good thing. And if you've ever done that, it's probably harder, I would say, to try to get a dog from a responsible breeder because they actually want to know about you. They want to know how you live. They want to know how you're going to take care of that dog. Whereas puppy stores could care less. They just want to sell you the puppy for $1,000 or more. So
yeah, I have a pet store right by my house. I live on Ashland, and there are protesters there all the time with signs: "Puppy mill puppies. Don't buy your puppy from here."
Yeah, and a lot of people buy them because they're so adorable. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They're super duper cute. You don't see the history behind how that puppy got to that store, though. And you don't know what's wrong with the puppy. And it is just absolutely very common that you purchase a super adorable, cute puppy at a pet store, and then soon afterwards find out that the puppy has all kinds of complications. You can't end up keeping up with the vet bills, and what happens, that puppy ends up, or the dog at that point ends up at Animal Care and Control. So, you know, I think, really have an obligation, knowing what the problem really is. This does not affect your small-scale breeder who is very responsible in how they deal with their animals and treat the mothers and the fathers. And this really just targets the worst of the worst, and we're going to cut off that pipeline. So it's really kind of like a no-brainer thing that should have been done a long time ago. And we have the ability to control 16 stores in the city of Chicago from not sourcing their dogs from puppy mills and instead getting them from animal care shelters or rescue shelters, nonprofits that deal with really what's in the best interest of the animal.
So what happened yesterday at the city council meeting?
Well, I worked my bill like I used to do back in Springfield, and we were able to get 47 co-sponsors on the legislation. So it looks like it's moving ahead very nicely.
And what does it mean? So violators will be fined, what, $1,000 a day?
They can be fined up to $1,000 a day, and for subsequent violations, up to misdemeanors.
But how do you prove that the puppies are from a puppy mill?
Well, that's easy because right now 99% of dogs sold in pet stores are from puppy mills. And if we're saying that they can no longer source their dogs but from anywhere other than Animal Care and Control shelters or rescue non-for-profits, those organizations would provide whatever paperwork needs to be provided to the pet stores as well as to the customers. So
sounds like a nice opportunity for independent breeders now because you've eliminated a lot of their competition.
Well, this isn't about like taking one side over another. It's just about being humane and compassionate.
Yeah, we're all
our policy.
We're all for that, Madam Clerk. We of course all are for that. Are you going to reach out to Michael Vick and have him cut some public service announcements here?
Maybe you should. I don't know. You've got better context than I do.
All right.
You know who does this actually? Right now, there's a pet store in Naperville. It's called Dog Patch Pets, and the owner there, he only sources his dogs and puppies, cats as well, kittens from rescue groups or animal shelters.
Now, you couldn't find a in the city business to promote? We had to go to Naperville?
No. What I'm saying is that they already have this model. We don't have any businesses in the city of Chicago that do this model, but for anybody who would argue that that's not going to work or whatever, I mean, we have a really great model to go after. That's what we'd love to see in the city.
Okay.
There's plenty of people who might not think about going into an animal shelter, but if a pet store offers these same puppies, which, by the way, there's a big misconception that you can't buy a purebred puppy from a shelter. That's totally incorrect. So people would be surprised. Once they learn a little bit more about the issue, I don't think anybody would knowingly feed into a really, really cruel way of treating the pets.
Susana Mendoza, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good day, guys.
Take care. Susana Mendoza, your Chicago City Clerk on our Turnkey.pro answer line. It's tough to argue for puppy mills.
It is.
It puts you in a tough position. I just think that, we are picking sides now. It's similarly to, I go to my local hardware guy because he gives me, I think, better guidance and he gives me great service, but that doesn't mean that Home Depot is a terrible place to shop, even though that is a much bigger, larger, more comprehensive business plan, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not equating Home Depot with a puppy mill, okay. But, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it seems like we're running people out of business just because we don't like the phrase puppy mill. If you change the phrase to for-profit breeders, it doesn't seem nearly as bad.